Hello and welcome to A Walk Through History. My name is Alexander, and in this video I will be talking about the Templar Order from the song Templars of Sabaton. So most people know about the Templar Order itself, but very few people actually know how this Templar Order was founded, why it was needed, and how did they come to their sad end. So to understand why the foundation of the Templar Order was needed, we have to look at the situation in the Middle East, in the Holy Land, right before the order was founded. So the order itself was founded in the year 1119, and before that we had the very first crusade. This crusade was needed because the armies of the Islamic caliphates had conquered most of the Christian world, and this includes the largest parts of the Middle East, modern-day Turkey, so Anatolia, Egypt, and North Africa, and also Spain. So the Christian world really felt this pressure of the invading Islamic armies, and so the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, of the Byzantine Empire, he did a cry for help to the Pope. And so the Pope answered this call for help, and he called the very first crusade. The first crusade was a very big success, and so the Crusader armies of Europe, they invaded the Holy Land, which was the goal to recapture Jerusalem. Jerusalem was very important for the Christians because of the many holy sites that were located there. And so the Crusader armies were successful in conquering the Holy Land and also the city of Jerusalem. Many Crusader states were founded in this period. So in the Middle East, the Christians, they formed a couple of Crusader states: the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Principality of Antioch, the county of Edessa, and also the county of Tripoli. And so these newly formed Crusader states, they were a big problem for the Muslims in the region. These were an act of violence against their presence in the region, and so the Muslim armies around these Crusader states, they gave them a very hard time and attacked them non-stop. So these newly formed Crusader states, they were dangerous places to travel around. But many pilgrims, Christian pilgrims from Europe, they still wanted to voyage to the Middle East, to the Holy Land and to Jerusalem to visit the holy sites. And so this was, the danger of going there was a big draw for them to show their devotion to the religion, but the current situation was just way too dangerous. Accounts of pilgrims who voyaged to the Holy Land, they say that the roads of Acre to Jerusalem, which was one of the most popular routes, was just filled with corpses of previous pilgrims who got slaughtered along the way by bandits and Muslim raiders. So this presents a problem for the Christians who still want to travel to the Holy Land. And the one person who was in the Holy Land during this period was Hugo van Paijens, a French crusader who thought that something had to be done to make a pilgrim's travels to the Holy Land safe again. And so the year is 1119, and this is the start of the founding of the Templar Order. From the start, the Templar Order had some principles, some vows that they take, and these included obedience, poverty, and chastity. And with these Christian principles in mind, this religious yet knightly order vowed to protect all the pilgrims in the Holy Land. From the start and the beginning of the founding of the order just contained 9 different Templars, so they were just a loose band of brothers, and this shows in the way that they behaved, because despite a very noble cause they had in the beginning, they spent most of their time just eating, drinking, and hanging around in Jerusalem, around their headquarters and around the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This changed when the king of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, King Baldwin, he looked at the Templars and he saw a lot of unused potential. He knew about their goal, but it was him who really set them to work and made them actively go out on duty and protect the pilgrim routes that they actually had set to do. He also gave them a headquarters, and as a headquarters, he gave them the Temple of Salome on the Temple Mount on Jerusalem. And this is also shown in the lyrics of Sabaton, where they talk about charging from the Temple Mount. So this Temple Mount is a plateau in Jerusalem, a holy plateau with holy sites, which was also the Temple of Salome, which was given to them as a headquarters. The Crusaders thought that this building was the old Temple of Salome, but in reality it was actually just a Muslim mosque, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which they mistakenly saw as the old temple from the Bible. Also important to mention is that the name of the order at the beginning was actually called the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Salome. This is also present in the lyrics of Sabaton, where Sabaton starts out the song with the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the temple. So this is a reference to the name that they got at the very start of their order. Sabaton also sings about safeguard the passage, their way to salvation. So I assume that this safeguarding the passage part is about defending the pilgrim routes that the Templars had as their main goal. The official logo, let's call it, of the Templars at the very start of their order, it was not the red cross on their white habits. When the order was founded, to show the vows of poverty, they chose as a logo 2 soldiers on 1 horse. This was to show that the order was in a very principle a poor order where the members were not allowed to own almost anything. In practice, this was the case for the individual members, but the organization itself of the Templars ended up getting extremely rich during the years. And as I said in the beginning, these 9 Templars, as it said in the legend that these were the first 9 Templars, they were just a loose band of brothers who did not achieve much. Then the king of Jerusalem put them to work, yet they were still a small and not really well-known order, but then also the Pope took notice. Because word got out to Europe that a new order was founded in the Middle East, in Jerusalem, and a very influential cleric in France, Bernard de Clairvaux, he started corresponding with the Knights of the Order in Jerusalem, and he started urging the Pope to officially recognize them as a military order under the Church. And the Pope actually answered this call, and the Pope declared them the Militia Christi, the Army of Christ. So this also gave a big boost to the Templars. The founder of the Templars, Hugo von Pines, also traveled to Europe, to France mainly, to get people to donate money and land to the cause of the Templars, and also to raise awareness for the need of a new crusade, because, as I said, the Crusader states were all the time under attack from the surrounding Muslim caliphates. This was very successful because the Templars were founded after the First Crusade, and this without being officially planned by the kings in Europe. This travel that Hugo did in Europe actually almost started a new crusade, an organically grown crusade of people who wanted to go to the Holy Land. Later, also a second crusade was started by the kings in Europe of France and the Holy Roman Empire in Germany. And in this crusade, the Templars started to get heavily involved. The kings started to see how much potential the Templars had, how much knowledge and expertise they had, so they became synonymous with the Crusades actually. During the decades, a couple of crusades were launched from Europe to the Middle East, also some to Spain and also to the Slavic countries in the north, but most of the crusades were to the Middle East. And in all of these crusades, the Templars played a very important role to guide soldiers, to give military expertise, as I said, to the kings, yet some of these crusades failed. As the Templar Order started to get more and more powerful and wealthy, the kings in Europe and in the Crusader states also sometimes got a bit wary of the large influence that this new order had. During Hugo von Pijn's his time in Europe, there was also a religious gathering where a lot of the vows were clearly specified that the Templars had to take, and it is also there where they officially got their white habit and the red cross. The Pope explicitly asks for the red cross to be on it as their official wear. This iconic Templar clothing is also the one that is used in the music video of Sabaton, so you can clearly see here that the Templars have the white habits with the red cross on there. After this time, in the coming decades, many crusades were launched, and the Templars were very important in all of these crusades. To just give one example, because I won't be covering all of these crusades, but in the Second Crusade, the kings of France and the Holy Roman Empire, they launched a very unsuccessful crusade to the Holy Land, and it's only because of the help of the Templars that they are not defeated by the Turks and that they actually get there. It is so bad that the King of France realizes how bad he has led this crusade that he completely gives all of the authority of the entire crusade to the Templar Order. The Templars save this crusade a first time. Later, the king completely goes bankrupt, and they also lend enormous sums of money to the King of France, saving this crusade a second time. So this comes to another thing. The Crusaders, the individual Crusaders, they took vows of poverty. So the Templars themselves were very poor, but the organization grew extremely rich. They got so rich that they became a bit of the bankers of Europe. And so, because they were so rich and they had so much money, so much expertise, financial expertise, they were able to give this loan to the French king. They became a bit of the Big Four of consulting, kind of a Deloitte, but this time with a moral code. And so the Templars, throughout the decades, they become synonymous with the Crusades. The Templars also get, next to their money, extremely powerful due to the political influence they have, and many kings, they do not like this. So, during the entirety of the Templar Order, during all the decades of their existence, they just help during the Crusades, they protect the Pilgrims, and they defend and build castles. But of course, we also have to talk about the downfall of the Templars, because this is very much present also in the lyrics of the Sabaton song. So the Templar Order existed almost 200 years, and at the end of their existence, what happened? How did this very respected order come to their end? Well, the start of the Templar Order was very much a thing of French knights, but it is also in France that they would eventually lead to their demise. The French king, Philips IV, Philips the Fair, he has enormous money problems because of earlier wars with his neighbors, with Spain, with England, and with Flanders. And so, to get rid of these money problems, he first persecutes the Jews, He gets them out of France and he takes their belongings, but this was not enough. As a second measure, they start diluting the money. They include less silver in the money. This is like a medieval equivalent of money printing, and so their money becomes worthless. So his money problems keep increasing, and that's the point where he looks at the Templars, because the Templars were at this point an extremely rich organization. And so what is Philip's plan to get money again? It is to accuse the Templar Order of heresy, imprison them, dismantle the order, and take all of their wealth. So this is what happens. The French King Philip IV, he also has an important ally in this fight, and it is the Pope. The Pope itself lives at this time in France. He's called Clemens instead of Rome, and this Pope is very much a weak lapdog of the French King. So they start an actual inquisition against the Templars, and they accuse them of heresy. What are the sins that they are accused of? It is sodomy, worshipping false idols, disrespecting the cross and Christ, and just acts of homosexuality in general during their rituals. And so they start their inquisition. They put under these false accusations, they put them all in jail, and they start torturing them to get confessions. This is also something that is present in the lyrics of the Sabaton song. They sing false accusations put out to flame. So with this they mean that the false accusations of the King of France lead to the end of the Templar Order. And so they start putting all of these Templars in prisons, in dungeons. They torture them to get false confessions, and they immediately start taking all of their possessions and their wealth. They also put the Grand Master of the Templar Order in jail. So the Grand Master is something that has always been present in the Templar Order, and during this time the Grand Master is Jacques de Molay. Jacques de Molay, he is also put into a prison and tortured, and they are able to break him and get false confessions from him. During this time, a lot of the other rulers in Europe, they look at this with some doubts, but because the Pope urges them to also start doing research into the Templar Order all over Europe, these trials start against the Templar Order. Jacques de Molay, as I said, he confessed to some of these crimes in the hope of just ending the torture and ending all these trials, but later on he denies all of his confessions. Denying your confessions actually means that you are a heretic who has fallen again into his old habits, and the punishment for this is getting burned at the stake. And so this also happens. The French king hears of these confessions being denied again, and so immediately the Pope and the armies of France, they take Jacques out of his prisons. They place him on burning stakes on the outskirts of Paris, and during this time some of the most influential Templar members, including the Grand Master, they actually get burned at the stake to death. This marks the end of the Templar Order, and a very striking sentence that the Grand Master Jacques de Molay says when he's burning is that God knows who is guilty and who is innocent, and God will punish the guilty. When he says this, the King of France probably was not too scared of what would happen to him, but what happens in the end is that within 1 year after burning the Templar Grand Master at the stake and completely dismantling their entire organization, both the King of France and this Pope, they both die. this was the end of the video of the Templars. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of this historical content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much. Bye bye. I also wanted to briefly talk about the music video of the song Templars, because in this video you can see that the Templars are defending in a final stand their castle in Jerusalem. Well, this is not what happened when the King Philip of France dismantled the Templar order. Why? Well, because the Templars had already lost control of the Holy Land earlier, so when their order got dismantled, none of the lands in the Holy Land were under their control. Another thing is that none of the knights in the music video, except for Joachim, are accurate Templars. Why? Well, because one of the main principles of the Templar order was the aspect of poverty. And because they had to show poverty, not show off too much, they had clothing and looks that were not like other knights. The other knights, they had often long hair and very colorful clothing. This was not the case with the Templars. The Templars, they had their white habits, as is accurate in the video, but they did not have long hair. During most of the time of the Templars, they had relatively short hair, and so that's why Joachim is the only accurate Templar in this video.